we know how to tell the truth. And our next speaker and guest is an example of that. I've had this similar experience. My greatest claim to fame is my wife, Mary Flynn O'Neill. Greatest claim to fame is her brother, General Flynn. And she is the president of, director of America's Future. Title of her speech is something her brother has put out quite a bit. Local action, national impact. Mary Flynn O'Neill, thank you.
America's future, guided by God's grace, emboldened by truth, and energized by the love for faith, family, and freedom. America's future, a rich legacy of building an educated citizenry, defending individual rights, protecting our children, and the mighty vision that America will forever be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America's future, harnessing the spirit of patriotism, preserving faith, family, and freedom.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I want to say I am really honored to be the only woman in this lineup. I feel like the Flynn family, and I'm in the middle of 5 boys. And I have to say before I start that I was born between 2 generals. General Michael Flynn and General Charles Anthony Flynn, who we must keep in our prayers. He's in charge of the Pacific. And God has a sense of humor with a Flynn in charge of China in a Biden administration. Okay? Thank you for everything you guys have done for our country. And The sheriffs are seriously important in this country, and the law enforcement and the pastors. And it's my honor to be with you tonight to represent America's Future, an American legacy organization whose mission perfectly aligns with our purpose here this weekend. To share solutions to the challenges our nation faces, to ensure that our God-given rights and liberties are protected, and to inspire action by all citizen patriots to unite on the battlefield for freedom, and Mark, to stand in the gap. We often hear the phrase, "What a time to be alive," and it certainly is. But today, this era is not the first time that our nation has faced evil forces. When America's Future was established in 1946, the foe was the rising threat of communism. World War II had just ended, and the Cold War was on the horizon. The founders of America's Future were giants in their professions. Military, entrepreneurs of industry, and publishing leaders, all trailblazers who championed individual rights, self-reliance, free enterprise, and patriotism. They had the grit and determination to expose the threat of communism as it reared its ugly head in the United States after the war. At that time, there was already over 1,000 organized communist groups active in the United States. Conservatism, we didn't know what that was. These titans of their time stood firmly on the side of freedom, the U.S. Constitution, and the rights of the individual to choose their own destiny. Together, they resolved to use their fortunes and resources to inform and educate American citizens what lay ahead if America ever succumbed to an external enemy that sought to destroy the spirit of free-born citizens, Americans. They began building on what we know today as local action to get their message out. At that time, they had no internet or social media, only paper and radio. And certainly, they never imagined 5GW, fifth generation warfare. Being used today as a war on narratives, information, it is the most insidious type of warfare there is. It is difficult to identify the enemies that work to destroy our way of life, Americans' way of life. Today, 80 years later, America's Future is still working to build and expand and educate active citizenry to carry the torch of freedom for the next generation, our children and our grandchildren. Active citizenry equals local action. But it is a different time for America. The greatest evil lurks within. Yes, there are still external forces at work, China, and of course Iran. to name only 2 countries that would like nothing more than America to fall. And of course, globalists, those who believe that American exceptionalism is a myth. To overcome these external threats, we must look inside and rid our nation of internal factions that cause tension among us and intentionally polarize the populace against each other, as we just witnessed in the primary here in Florida on August 20th. They want us to hate one another. They categorize patriots as domestic terrorists for exercising their right to protest against oppression. They suppress information that questions their policies and propaganda, and they persecute those willing to stand and speak out by weaponizing our system of justice to silence dissenters, betraying the principles upon which America was founded. Another phrase we hear today is the enemy within. Words expressed to remind us to stay alert and recognize evil when it is before us. And I am hopeful people are waking up. Marcus Tullius Cicero is thought to be the first to define the phrase. Cicero was, of course, a Roman Empire. In the Roman empires, he was one of the greatest philosophers and legal scholars. Here's what Cicero warned about recognizing the enemy within. He said, "A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely, his sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself." Indeed, America is fighting those who move among us. The shadow government, the deep state, the ruling overlords, the administrative state, they roam freely in the halls of government itself, without accountability or consequences. And more importantly, recognize they move freely among us in our local communities. And so, in 2021, when my brother, General Michael Flynn, took over America's future, he charged our team with establishing a legal program to defend our constitutional rights and bring sunlight where our rights were infringed by bureaucrats who used tools of tyranny against the will of Americans and the rule of law. He also was well underway with his local action equals national impact, and that stuck with me and thousands of others across this nation. Our legal team has helped score monumental wins in jurisdictions across the country and with the United States Supreme Court, from the Fisher case victory that helps hundreds of January 6 protesters exercising their First Amendment rights to what is known as the Chevron ruling, a trademark decision eliminating a 40-year-old law requiring that courts give deference to regulatory agencies and bureaucrats when interpreting laws passed by Congress. These victories and others, such as the OSHA case that freed employees from COVID-19 mandates, and the 303 creative decision that protects citizens from being forced to do something against their religious beliefs. Our wins for millions of Americans and preserve our rights and the Constitution. America's future will continue its work to secure the freedom bestowed upon all Americans by God's blessing. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will continue to bring facts and truth to our fellow citizens in the courts of law with our amicus briefs to preserve faith, family, and freedom. For it is the foundational pillars of the rule of law and the idea of enforcing these just laws, which is the primary responsibility of government to protect its citizens and maintain order. You can find that in 1 Timothy 2, 1-2, or 1 Peter 2, 13-14. We will never quit the fight, whether on a grand scale by helping score legal victories that affect millions of Americans, or at a grassroots level with our educational programs, our books, our publications, and digital resources and libraries that reach deep into American homes. When we, the people, fight in the trenches of our communities, for our families and our friends, the nation will hear the roar of your voices. The power people hold to make change will only come from local action. That's it. We see anti-biblical or secular government actors abusing their authority and taking advantage of Americans, citizens, all the time, forcing compliance and pushing fear in the blood of our people. We must continue to fight against ungodly laws and ungodly leaders. This must start in our local communities. Whether it be peaceful demonstrations, ballot initiatives, or public exposure, which I happen to love. And yes, at times, disobedience. When our conscience says, we can't go along with this anymore, it's an offense to God. It's offensive to our Lord. Local action does, believe me, have a national impact. Local action does have a national impact. That is our vital message that we establish. And we establish this with our Project Defend and Protect Our Children, Get in the Fight community-centered campaign to help end child exploitation and child trafficking in America. To me, children are the most important, precious gift from our Lord. And we will only survive if we protect our children. It was Frederick Douglass who said, if you can corrupt a child, you can corrupt a nation. Since this project launched in December 2022 and the kickoff of Get in the Fight campaigns right here in Florida 1 year ago, thousands of Americans are now armed with the knowledge and tools to mobilize their local communities to combat despicable crimes against children. From Florida, we traveled to Michigan, Illinois, Texas, Washington, and Ohio. This month, we will be in Colorado Springs and Connecticut in October, and we will not stop. My brother says we're going in 50 states, and I have to do what the general says. At every stop in every state, we meet local law enforcement officials, sheriffs, AGs, EMTs, nurses, healthcare workers, real estate professionals, business owners, teachers, moms, dads, grandparents, pastors, veterans, and others from all walks of life coming together to learn the facts and get involved. This local action by hardworking, everyday Americans attending these summits and training, educating themselves, getting these programs and helping us build a citizen army of warriors to fight the war on children in their local communities, states, and across America. It was General Flynn that said, "It takes a network to defeat a network." That's what we must build. Networks of people in every community, and this will spread throughout the nation. This is the kind of national impact that I want to see happen. The hell with the DC swamp. Our project has also given whistleblowers a platform to raise their voices about dysfunctional government agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services that act as a vehicle for child sex trafficking and slave labor of migrant children from the southern border. There are more than now 350,000 children missing. Not 85,000. 350,000 children missing from that border that have been moved around this country. And we don't know where many of them are. Children are the future of America. We must defend and protect these precious lives, or there will be no future. There is no evil worse than hurting a child. Our times of blessings are challenged because we've given in to ideological wickedness, and we see this in our federal, state, and local leaders and bureaucrats. There are consequences to throwing God out of our nation, and we are witnessing this firsthand. Stand up against unjust evil. Stop letting the enemy win by making us think that we must be compassionate to their evil narrative they push. It is in Deuteronomy 28:15-68 that states, when a nation turns its back on God, they will begin to experience more and more curses. We must bring back our Christian principles to the public square of our local communities. Walk in obedience as God's chosen people and be proud of what He has done for us. Let's do it to not bring attention to us, for recognition for us, ourselves, but do it for the Almighty God that we serve. America's future has been on the battlefield and stood the test of time to ensure that the vision of our founding fathers, that America will always be the greatest nation the world has ever known, the shining city on the hill, and that the torch of freedom is brightly lit as it passes to the next generation, our children and our grandchildren. We were created by God to show other nations and lead other nations to the same freedoms we love as Americans. The world is watching us and thirsting for what we have in this country. We must not let God down, and we must be leaders in our communities, our local communities, to make this happen. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to be a part of this important conference. And right now, I want to have you have a little message from General Flynn.
Get involved in your communities. The phrase that I like to use today is local action has a national impact. Local action has a national impact. How much work are you willing to do in order to help this country survive? Because the one fact that I know, and this is a fact that is a fact of life, and it's a fact for this nation, it's a fact for all of us. The fact that I know is that nation states rise and fall. So for the American dream, the American system of government, this beautiful experiment in democracy, this constitutional republic, every single citizen of this country that loves this country, believes in this country, has got to decide what am I going to do to maximize my potential as an individual to help my country, to help my community, to help my family. In order for us to have the liberties that we have, in order for us to have the order that we need or the order that we want as Americans, we have to get much more involved in our communities. And back to my phrase again, local action has a national impact. So get involved, citizens that are watching this, get involved and get your friends, family involved. And never forget that this country was founded upon faith. It was founded upon faith. It's not just faith in God, it's faith in each other. And it's faith that we are going to continue to be a good, decent country that is that beacon of hope, that shining city on the hill, or what I like to say is that true North Star that the rest of the world can continue to be guided by, so they can discover those around the world that are still seeking freedom. They can still find that star in the middle of the night and be guided towards that dream that they want to achieve hope and to achieve freedom. So God bless you all. God bless America. And thanks for all that you're doing out there.
I just want to say one more thing before I finish. Our family, and right now I'm going to represent the Flynns. There's 9 of us. There's 5 boys and 4 girls. And I just want to let you all know that the persecution that was placed upon my brother was placed upon the rest of our family as well. So in our family, the rule was always be with each other, no matter what. And always fall back on your faith when things get rough. And that happened when my brother decided to work with Donald Trump. Of course, I was very happy that he went with Donald Trump. Being the only Republican in the family, the rest of them were Democrats, but they found their way. But anyways, I just want to say that that persecution has made us strong. God has given us a whole new mission. And we were brought up as patriots. My father was a master sergeant in the Army for 20 years. I was born in Germany. I was the 7th kid. And we were all, stationed. He was stationed there somewhere in the country and so forth. But we were brought up, loving our country, and we had good parents. And that's important to bring back to the communities and to make sure that young families know that it's okay to have children and to stay together and to be committed and to love God, faith, and family. And I just want you to know that that persecution made us all stronger. Because I always get this kind of question, how do you guys do it? You're a great family, and we came from nothing. We just came up together loving each other and loving God. And I just want you to know that our family will continue and always fight right alongside all of you. We will never, ever give up on this country and give up on you. So we're here to stay right alongside you guys. Thank you very much, and God bless you.